Gen X Joe and the youth gone wild. Podcast is making your summer a blast. Lined up for interviews or rock. Legends in the game and new blood trying to make a name. Streaming everywhere. Yeah. And the youth gone wild. Podcast is making your summer a blast. Lined up for interviews or rock. Legends in the game and new blood trying to make a name. Streaming everywhere.
What is going on, my fellow beach bums? Well, wait, I'm sorry. I shouldn't jump to conclusions. Maybe you are not at the beach. Maybe you are just on a staycation. That's cool too. But myself, Gen X Joe, I am actually on vacation for the next couple of weeks. And then I have a couple of road trips I need to go on with the family and a few other commitments that I need to be taken care of. Now, before you jump to conclusions, the answer is no. No, I am not going to jail. My youth gone wild side is way in the past. That's why my show is now called the Youth Gone Mild Podcast. And just to reintroduce my podcast, it is the Youth Gone Mild, where hairlines fade, but rock never does. And normally I would be saying I am coming to you from my studio called Wherever I May Roam. However, I am actually coming to you from wherever this summer takes me. And these episodes coming up in the next couple of weeks or month, I am calling them the vacation episodes. They are already pre-produced and going to be streaming throughout the entire month of July and possibly into August. I am still going to be bringing you the best conversations, the best stories, and of course, the best guest in the rock scene today. And hell, I have some legends and I have some new blood that's trying to make a name for themselves. Great interviews all lined up. And before I get to the interview, I just want to thank my sponsor, Lisa Gandia of Celebrity Events. If you are a new artist, an established artist, or even an old head, and you are looking to book shows nationally, Lisa is the person you want to get in touch with. Tell her Gen X Joe sent you, and you can reach out to her on her website at celebrityeventsrock.com. For social media, for myself here at the Youth Gone Mild podcast, we are on all major social media platforms at Youth Gone Mild PC. And as I like to say, the PC does not stand for politically correct. All right, so it's time to kick back, crack open something cold, enjoy that sun, the sand if you're at the beach, and most importantly, the sound of the Youth Gone Mild podcast. I am in vacation mode, and these are the vacation episodes of the Youth Gone Mild podcast. Here's today's interview.
Hey, how are you, Joe?
Man, I'm good. And yourself?
Oh, good. You look great, brother.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that. You're too kind, although I have a face for radio and not live broadcast TV or live podcasting. So, you know.
Listen, I don't have a face for rock and roll, but you know what? That's why I'm the drummer. They put me in the back.
Dude, good one. But listen, man, you got the beat for it, man. I was listening to some of the tracks.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, man, no worries. Now, listen, my Zoom, there's been something wonky all day. It's been going in and out, but
Okay.
I've been making it work, so it's all good. So I don't want you to think I hung
Okay.
up on you or anything.
Nope. I'll stay here until you tell me we're done.
All right, we're done.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what my wife would like me to say when I do all these podcasts. You're always doing podcast interviews, but I'm like, well, hey, I could be at a bar somewhere or at a strip club, but I'm interviewing rock stars. What's wrong with
Right,
that?
right,
Yeah,
right. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great.
yeah, man, it kind of gives me a little peace of mind, and so I enjoy it.
That's great. That's good stuff, man.
I appreciate that. So, Red Rain, man, you guys are from the state of Virginia, which is, like our neighboring state over here in Pennsylvania.
That is correct. Yep, we're not too far from you. Played Pennsylvania quite a bit.
Yeah, where at, man? Like Jurgles, any place like that?
Yeah. Yeah, Jurgles. We've since the inception of the band, and I may have the numbers not exact, but we've played Jurgles probably five, maybe six times.
Awesome, man. Just by yourself, opening up for anybody?
No, opening. We have not been on tour as a headlining band. We're opening at this point.
Well, let's get you to headline, man.
We would love that. Yeah. Easier said than done, though.
Well, you know what? That's what I'm hearing nowadays. I've been doing the podcasting for about 6, 7 months now, and that's the word on the street, man. It's really tough out there with touring.
It is. It's not only is it tough touring, it's tough being an all original band. We don't play one cover tune, not one.
Well, I had said this in previous podcasts. This was kind of like my journey to find new bands. I was that Gen X dude that, stuck with the same old hair bands and hard rock bands. And, man, we are not changing Hair Nation on Sirius XM. I don't care how long of a trip we got, it stays there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and, I hit 50 and I'm like, you know what? It's time to discover some new bands. Not new music. I'm never going to sway from rock, but just some newer bands. And you know what I'm also finding? There are a lot of bands out there who have talent that is my age.
The one journey that well, I shouldn't say that. The one thing about the journey that we've been able to take away is the fact that there are so many other bands out there. We've been on bills where it's us and another band that is up and coming and or has already been out there. I mean, I get so tired of people saying, "Oh, there's no new music out there." There's a boatload of new music,
Yes.
which is not the word I was going to use. Boatload. I'd have used something a little more differently, but
Well, you might as well just say it. Just spit it out. You're all good.
well, I don't know what the rules are, so I'm if I can curse, I don't curse much, but sometimes. But in saying that, there's a shed load of music out there, new music, new bands. They're out there, and now with obviously, listen, we all love the Siriuses and the '80s. I listen to Ozzy, Ozzy Channel. I listen to the Hair Nation as well. But I mean, how many times can you keep hearing, "Talk Dirty to Me" by Poison, which is a great song. Love Poison, but
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And I don't know what it was. I just came to a point and I'm like, I got to do something different. Got to hear some new music, and I just began searching Spotify and this and that, and Facebook, social media, and really it was Instagram that a lot of bands would just be posting like snippets of their songs, and bands that I never heard of. And some of the
right.
bands I have interviewed since then, and I'm like, damn, this is some good shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, it's out there. And if I can, not that they know I'm doing this, but there is a radio station, internet radio station, and you may have heard of it. 97 Underground. Have you heard of that?
I have, yeah.
And I love that station because they play old music, and new bands. And I've learned of new bands that I've never heard of before because they play them. And it's a good mix. It's some really heavy metal, and it's some good hair band metal, and it's just some good rock and roll. So stations like that kind of keep the torch lit a little bit for newer bands. But and a lot of the bands today, again, nothing wrong with those, but a lot of them are still doing the cover tune to get attention. We're not going that route. From
Yeah.
day one, it's been an all original band, and it will continue to be an all original band.
And that's awesome.
Unless we make it and somebody wants to do a song. I should never say never say never. That's what it is.
Hey,
That's what.
if you think about it, I don't even think there's an original band that has made it huge in the industry that hasn't recorded a cover song.
Right, right.
So,
Well, I mean, my favorite band of all time lived off cover songs, which is Van Halen.
right?
You know,
Yeah.
but as time goes on, and yes, I mean, listen, I mean, and it does. I am sort of talking, double sided here, but I don't know when I did all the bar bands. I did other bands. I just when because Bubba, who's our lead singer, and I started Red Rain. When I went to him with the idea, I was like, look, man, how many times are you going to play Looks to Kill? How many times are you going to play this? How many times are you going to play that? It's just enough. And so I started this in my mind. Red Rain was, how far would an all original band go? Not one cover tune. And, doing what we like to do, and yes, our music has remnants, it's reminiscent of the 80s, because that's where our our musical taste kind of lies. And obviously me, Van Halen, and everybody else, so all that kind of creeps into your creativity. But we've done pretty well for all original.
Well, and speaking of your band, what an awesome name for a rock singer frontman than Bubba. There's no country vibe to that coming from Virginia, though, right?
It's funny. I was interviewed when we first came out by two of my close friends on another show, and they just were like, what did they say? They like, "Oh my God, really? A Bubba from Virginia? Never heard of that before." So yeah, obviously not his real name, but that's what he goes by, Bubba. So, but
Two things I want to say about Bubba. All right. First, he sounds like Don Dokken. Okay.
really, okay,
That's just
it's
my
first I've heard
opinion.
that, but okay,
I, I,
okay.
I got that vibe of Don Dokken. Okay.
Hmm.
And second, we were just speaking of cover songs. I think I got the perfect cover song for you to do. Okay.
Okay, okay.
And let me know if you've ever heard of this song. Bubba Shot the Jukebox by Mark Chestnut.
I've never heard that song.
Oh,
No.
dude, it's country from the 90s because I used to work at a country station back in the 90s and early 2000s. Great song. Look it up. Mark Chestnut, country artist. He's still around today. Bubba Shot the
Okay.
Jukebox, man. If you heavy metaled it up, it would be a great song.
Well, listen, I'll be honest with you. There was a time and a point that we had thought of doing a cover before we put out the new album, and we kicked around some ideas, and we just can't agree on a song. The four of us couldn't, and I'm glad. I'm glad. I don't really at this point, because again, never say never. At this point, I don't really want to cave into that.
Right.
One of the songs that I threw out, what I thought would be great, was I've Done Everything for You. That's what it was. Kind of saw this vibe where if we put our spin on it, it'd be pretty cool. But that was quickly shot down by everybody, which is fine. I mean, that's what makes a band. We're lucky enough to agree on the good things, and what makes the band better, in my opinion, and makes the band move forward, than some of the dumb things. And again, I know that's not right thing to say, dumb things, because it's a cover tune, but for me, this whole vision I had when I started Red Rain was completely original.
Let's talk about new music from Red Rain, man. What's been
All
going
right.
on with that?
Where the writing's been a little slower due to some events. You actually caught us at a moment that we just made some announcements, but our bass player, since the inception of Red Rain, has retired. Excuse me. A gentleman named Michael Nagy, who will fill Larry's shoes just quite nicely. Very similar in bass style, very similar in a lot. And Mike's gonna helm it now. So we've been really, we put the songwriting a little bit on hold due to that, and we were getting back to some of the writing when some shows have popped up. So that's what we've been doing right now. So the new music's a little bit on hold, but it's coming. It's coming slowly.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of the material that's already out there from Red Rain.
The EP has a couple songs. Well, I mean, the EP is great, so I would listen to all that. But if you're a hard rock or rock and roll fan, or you're a fan of that genre, then I would say listen to the song off the newer album called "Don't Look Back," because
Yeah.
it features George Lynch. That song sums us up. Red Rain, the title track off the EP, sums the band up. And if you want something a little more what we call, and what a lot of people who've heard the song called, a little bit more would have been a radio friendlier song, is a song called Not That Way, which is off the EP as well.
But Don't Look Back, man. Listen, that is the track.
We got George as a special guest on that song.
How did you manage to get George on that?
Long story, which I'll try to keep short. We had just gotten off tour in 2019 with Tesla. We were touring with Tesla. And then COVID hit. Literally, we literally got home, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later is when everything shut down for COVID. We had a little bit of turmoil, nothing much. When you're together all the time, it gets a little hairy sometimes with each member. But we took a little bit of a break. We kind of regrouped, which is good. Bubba had started writing the material for the new album. And I know, and so it was about 2 years, almost 3 years since COVID had shut down is when we were talking about recording this album. I knew I needed to make a splash. I didn't, at first I thought about bringing in a guest, trying to get a guest singer, a big name singer. I couldn't think of anybody who would fit the thing. So then I started thinking guitar players. And I talked to a couple people on our team. The band had no idea that I was even thinking about this. I'm friends with a couple guys on a very popular internet radio show. I don't know if I can mention that or not. I don't like to, if it's okay.
You're totally fine. Cross promotion for me is great. I love it.
Okay. So I'm really close friends with the guys at the Classic Metal Show, Wendell Neely and Chris Aiken, who I've known for about 20, oh my God, we're going on almost 26 years now. They really, to be honest with you, to step back for a second, they were really instrumental in getting us to where we are today. I always give them the credit that they deserve. Neely is one of his best friends is Don Dokken.
Oh, wow.
And so I happened to, and Neely and I talk, well, we were talking once a week for the longest time. And he's gotten busier, I've gotten busier, but we try to talk once every 2 weeks, once a month. Anyway, I'm tailing off, I'm sorry, but we just happened to talk that week, and I was telling him we're getting ready, we got some new material. I want to make a splash. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I said, you think we could get George? And he said, let me, because he knows first of all, he knew the whole original Dokken band. And he knows, obviously, the band that tours with Don now. But he knows George. And he said, listen, I'll talk to him and I'll get it done for you. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. And that's really how it got done. I mean, that's the story. Neely kind of, spoke on our behalf. And George agreed to do it. George was very, very gracious. And so that's how that came about. And nobody in the band knew. As a matter of fact, nobody on the team knew, not our booking agents, not our publicist, who I talk to all the time, who really, him and I are the ones that kind of really, I would say, not mastermind, but kind of run the show. He didn't even know. I kept that as secret as I possibly could. And when George said yes, I was like, wow. So I had told, I started to trickle down who I told. The band was the last of the people to know.
How did that go over?
They didn't believe it. Like, no way. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, it's all set. And with not being able to rehearse or not being able to see each other for a long time. I mean, it was over a year before we got together. I mean, they were like, no way. I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, it's set in stone. And so it reinvigorated the album a little bit, like, that everybody's like, okay, all right, we got something here.
That's a great story, man.
Yeah, yeah. It was, people always, I think sometimes people always think it's this really extravagant story. It's just not. We just happen to know somebody. It's that I know somebody who knows somebody. That's it, and we got lucky. But and really, George was the first choice. So what's interesting about us is one of the things that we would do is we would go out on the road for a week. And then we'd come back, we would put everything in the rehearsal room, we'd get the rehearsal room set, and then we wouldn't see each other for 3 weeks. And that's by design, because really, it gives everybody a break from each other. It gives a little more creativity, because I think that, when we do get together, there's more energy in rehearsals, because we're not doing it every single night, and we're not together every single minute, and we're not, and we just give each other a break. And I really think that helps the band more than anything.
But hey, whatever works for your band may not work for another. So
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Mhm.
If you remember when we were younger, AC/DC was a heavy metal band, right?
Right.
AC/DC is now a classic rock band, right?
Yeah.
Um, and being a Van Halen fan and a David Lee Roth Van Halen fan, I remember watching an interview when he was younger, and they asked if Van Halen was heavy metal, and he said, "No, we are a power rock band." So I stole that. I'll be the first one to say it. So sorry, Dave, but I stole that. But it is. We're a power rock band. We have some really harder songs, and then we have more melodic rock and roll songs. So I think people gravitate to that. Also, I think we do it well. Yeah. I mean, we've been very fortunate. We don't get a lot of negative feedback. And if we do, that's fine too. Listen, music's so subjective, and the one thing that I feel is harder these days is, I don't know about you. I mean, you're probably the same way I am, but um, if I'm having a real shitty day, I just throw in some old Van Halen,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, okay, all right, or I'll make myself a bourbon and listen to some Halen, and sometimes I'll go through the Van Halen, then I'll throw in some old Aerosmith or some old AC/DC, or I'll even go older than that. I'll throw in some Who. I mean, and the Stones. That music, it means something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the problem with music is today. I don't think music means that much to younger listeners like it did to us. Again, my opinion.
No, and you're absolutely right. And just real quickly, I'll say for me, my go-to band is Guns N' Roses. I mean, hands down, when
Yeah,
I'm having a shitty day, I just need some Guns N' Roses.
there you go. Yeah.
But going with what you said about music doesn't have a meaning to the younger audience, I agree, because it's right there. It's here on your phone. You can grab it. You can discover new bands. But for me, and I've said this many times, what I wouldn't give to go back and have a record store and just buy a CD or a cassette and open the liner notes up and read who they're thanking or the lyrics, and kind of form my own version of what the song may be about now that I'm seeing it in writing. And I would just dissect things from it, and yeah, that's not happening nowadays.
No, and to take that even further, this is I'm trying to find a song, but for all intents purposes, it's a great song. But let's take Mr. Brownstone by Guns N' Roses.
Right.
Okay, great song. Okay, in the old days, when you had to listen to the album and you had to listen to the CD, you had to listen to all the songs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so there might have been a song there you're going, I really don't know if I like that song. And I don't know why I point out Mr. Brownstone, but because the drums, like dun dun,
Totally.
and so somebody might say, "Oh man, the intro's too long or whatever." That's the problem with today. It's like, okay, this intro's too long. Next,
Yes.
where we listen to it, and then you listen to the album again. You're like, you know what? Actually, this is a pretty damn good song. And then you listen to it the third time. You're like, nah, this isn't a pretty good song. This is one hell of a tune. For me, I know this sounds really goofy, but I never had that with Van Halen. I listened to Van Halen, every single song that they did with David Lee Roth, and I didn't dislike one of them. But And there have been artists out there that I kind of like now that I heard the first time. I was like, I don't really like it. My daughter really, she's really funny. I was lucky enough to get her into some old music, but so every night she'll say, "Hey, have you heard this song?" And of course she's pulling out a song because she's gone back into the 70s and 80s and 60s. I mean, the Beatles are her favorite band, and one thing we started Red Rain was because I kept seeing bands get on stage in shorts and t-shirts
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I said, look, anybody who joined this band, I was like, look, guys, there's only three things that we're gonna follow is you look like a band, you act like a band, and you sound like a band. And I put look like a band first.
Yeah. 100%.
I don't remember what program it was. I think it was something about 80s hair band stuff, but they were talking to one of the designers, and the designer said, you have to stand out. You don't want to be on stage and look like the audience you're playing to.
No, that's a great statement right there.
Yeah, and listen again. I'm not. I don't mean this to be mean, and somebody's probably going to say, "Hey, who's he?" Whatever. Because I like playing and that's great. I chose a different path. And everybody that you mentioned, the Kiss and all that. They're a presence. They're a presence on stage.
Oh yeah.
I just had this conversation with somebody. We were talking about David Lee Roth, and I'm a huge fan. Sadly, Dave just doesn't really have the goods anymore. And he was never the greatest singer, but he was the greatest showman. And he kept the audience entertained. But the moral of the story, or this little story that I'm telling is, I obviously saw the Van Halen reunion, from 2007 to 2015. In 2015, he was really, really starting to lose his voice pretty bad. But I remember turning around. I had really good seats. I was close to stage, and I turned around at one point, and wherever he went, I mean, people followed him. He's a presence on stage. I think that's another thing that we lose out in today's world. Like, you don't have, um, I don't know, you just don't have those kind of personalities like we used to, like the Alice Coopers, the Boa, and the chopping off the head, the guillotine, and Kiss with the makeup and the spitting blood, and then you had all the other bands that just did their stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to go one step further. A guitarist. You got George Lynch on your song "Don't Look Back." I mean,
Right.
he was a presence himself on
Yeah.
stage.
Right. There's no energy.
And that's the same thing with radio or satellite radio, that have the top hits out there today. There's no guitar solos anymore.
Nope. Nope. Those are gone too.
Yeah, oh my
Not
God.
much shredding anymore. There's not even really in the songs. I mean, like, Eddie would always do this little shredding in the, and just none of that. I always said one of Eddie Van Halen's best guitar solos, which was not a radio song. So it's on Women and Children First. It is called In a Simple Rhyme. Yeah, listen to that song. That song's it's a really cool Van Halen song. And to me, it really summarized Van Halen. It starts out really melodic, and then it gets heavy, and then it gets melodic, and then the breakdown is melodic, and then I think that's Eddie's. And again, I'm not a guitarist, so I'm sure guitars like, oh, he's crazy. For me, listening, I think it's one of Eddie's greatest guitar solos in a song. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, but it's all those songs. They're all just so good, and I feel like, and again, we're kind of stuck in, or at least me, I'm stuck in sort of a musical genre, and so my daughter's always asking if I've heard this and this. I'm like, nah, I really heard this, and I try to expand my musical taste. Um, and I've done pretty good because seriously, in high school and really in college, the only band I listened to was Van Halen. I didn't listen to the radio. I had a CD or a tape in my car all the time, ready to go. And so now I really, out when I started getting into bands, I really, really got into experiencing other bands. I mean, I'd heard them, but like I really got more into the, I mean, Zeppelin and and the Who and I mean, I'm talking into the catalog, not the hits.
Right.
And then, as I've gotten older, I'm going more Motown. I'm going, I'm getting out of listen. I'm really trying to listen to a lot of different, genres, but it's also older stuff because I just think that's some of the best music ever made.
I'm revisiting the 90s and man, it just takes me back because I'm a huge fan now of Candlebox. I absolutely love Candlebox
Yeah.
and Bush. Love those bands. And I never gave them a shot back in the 90s.
So I'll tell you, maybe I'm one of the only ones. I never liked Nirvana. Never, that band never did anything for me. I couldn't get into them. I didn't like them. But I tell you who I did like. I mean, I like Alice in Chains. Big fan of Alice in Chains.
Hmm.
But again, that I know, a lot of people say Alice in Chains was kind of grunge. They really weren't. They were really kind of just heavy metal to sort of more of I always thought, and I like Stone Temple Pilots. I was
Oh
a
yeah.
fan of theirs. And then Soundgarden, I I I got into Soundgarden a little bit later.
With bands like yours, Red Rain, it absolutely proves rock is not dead whatsoever.
It's not dead by any stretch of the means. And like I said, we've been lucky enough to meet other bands who do sort of the same thing that we do, or maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit harder, and they're good bands. They're damn good bands. But there's no outlet, really, major outlet to shine. And that's why I love, like I said earlier, 97 Underground. They'll play you. You get into rotation. They do a really nice job, and they play all kinds of stuff. And then you have to find your way. You just have to keep fighting for the crumb. That's it. I mean, that's really what it is, and until it gets to be enough. And it is, each year's gotten harder and harder. When we first got into this and we got our team together, we had our publicity company, and we were able to find somebody to help book the band. Things were easier. Like, okay, what do you think about this tour? And then the sad part is there's no money in it, and
Yeah.
I don't think I'm telling a secret here. And so we had to balance family, work, and band. Touring is drying up. And so as long as we can continue to get some shows, we'll continue to do Red Ring. There was a time where we thought maybe we just don't do shows anymore because it just costs too much money. But as long, we're always going to continue to try to book shows, but there will be some new music here soon. And I always tell everybody, listen, you may not like us, and that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion. Just give us a listen. That's all we ask.
Hell yeah,
You know,
man.
yeah, that's all we ask, because try something new. But you're never going to step out of your comfort zone unless you try something. So
I couldn't agree
that's all.
more. All right, man. Well, hey, Sammy, thank you so much for being a guest here on my Youth Gone Mild podcast, man. It has been a great conversation.
Well, Joseph, I appreciate you having us, or the band, myself, and I appreciate you spreading the word of a band like us who, doesn't get a lot of attention, and we appreciate everything that you guys do that keeps music alive.
Man, I appreciate the kind words, and hopefully someday soon you guys will be back in the Berg area or somewhere nearby, and I can check you guys out in person.
Well, we're trying. We're always trying. That's the one, before I leave, that's the one thing we do get some emails like, hey, when are you going to come to Kansas City, or when are you going to come here? And it's like, the sad part is, and the reality is, and it's not up to us.
Right.
You have to be asked to play before you make those decisions. So we're trying. So hope to
Well,
see everybody in a new city.
well, man, keep doing what you're doing, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you again. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak to me.
Hey, you're welcome. And like your song says, don't look back, man. Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. That's right. Try something new.
All right. Just because this episode is over does not mean summer is over yet. Oh, hell no. We still got 2 full months of summer left, but not quite 2 full months of pre-produced Youth Gone Mild podcast. I should be back second week of August with all brand new openings and closings. But until then, you're kind of stuck with what you got. And I do apologize for that. But like I said, we have a family vacation coming up, a few road trips, and other commitments that I need to be taken care of. I hope everybody understands. I'd just like to thank my guest or guest here on the Youth Gone Mild podcast today, all of my listeners, and my sponsor, Celebrity Events by Lisa Gandia. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, go to my social media pages at Youth Gone Mild PC. Give it a like, give it a follow, leave a comment. And if you're looking for the next episode date of the Youth Gone Mild podcast to resurface, then just follow us on all our social media platforms. And don't forget, we are also out there on all major streaming networks. And give us a like and a follow there as well. All right, this is Gen X Joe telling you to rock loud, live proud. Peace out. Props everyone for listening to the Youth Gone Mild podcast, where hairlines fade, but rock never does.
Gen X Joe and you.